Alright guys, so I thought I was done making these best of this, most of that list for 2023, but there's one shoe I've been running in recently and it's just been begging me to make a spotlight video on it, and that is the Nike Vomero 17. Now, this is one of the shoes that I have not seen a lot of pop about. I've not seen a lot of buzz on it since it dropped in the fall, and it's kind of an unsung hero of my rotation right now. I've been putting a ton of miles on it recently, and it's been reliable, it's been consistent, it's been durable, and has just the right amount of fun for those everyday miles. So in this video, I'm gonna break down why the Nike Vomero 17 is the most underrated shoe of 2023 and let you know whether or not it might be good for your rotation. Alright guys, so before we get into it today, if you haven't checked out the Running Shoe Matcher tool yet, go head over to runningshoematcher.com. This is a really cool tool I built for you that matches you with the best shoes for you based on your goals and preferences. So you can go in there and answer 5 questions about what type of shoe you're looking for, whether you want a daily trainer like the Vomero, or a race day shoe, or a tempo shoe, whether you like your shoes soft or firm, and we'll match you with the best shoe for you. So it's live right now and it's free. You can check it out at runningshoematcher.com, and I'll put a link in the description below. One of the reasons the Vomero is so slept on is because it is a daily trainer. It's designed as an everyday running shoe, and this category of shoes in general does not get a lot of pop. However, if you've been following this channel, you know that this is probably my favorite category of running shoes, this and the non-plated speed shoes, and there's some overlap between those, but there's been shoes that I've highlighted heavily over the past year, like the Adidas Adizero SL, that get slept on not just because of the shoes themselves, but because of this overall category of daily trainers. Unless you have a 40mm stack and are from a brand named Asics, you don't really get a lot of buzz. So the Vomero franchise from Nike, this series of shoes, is positioned by Nike as that premium everyday running series. So it's similar to how Asics has the Gel Nimbus and then the Cumulus. It's similar to how Saucony has the Triumph and then the Ride. This is the higher stack, more expensive line of shoes, uses some more durable materials, uses softer, more premium foams, and in the market, the price for these is $160. So if you look at the Nimbus, if you look at this Triumph, if you look at this, they're all priced around that price point. Now, over the past 2 to 3 years, maybe, Nike has lost a little bit of their luster in the everyday running shoe category. Yes, they still are killing it with shoes like the Vaporfly and the Alphafly 3, which I've been lucky to test. And even the Streakfly is a great option, but shoes like the Tempo Next Percent starting to show its age a little bit. It's not gonna get extended into a second generation. And then you have the Zoom Fly, which a lot of runners have just completely soured on. And the Pegasus, which is, well, it's a standard Pegasus. There's nothing too exciting or special about that shoe. However, the Vomero is a return to form from Nike, and they're investing in making this a legit running shoe to compete with the likes of that Nimbus and that Triumph. And so in this generation, they've added this top layer of ZoomX foam, which is that race day foam, and the Alphafly and the Vaporfly. They've completely overhauled the design of it. This one looks pretty staid in this green colorway, but there's some other really cool colorways like the Launch white and red that I thought was awesome. I went with this because I wanted to wear it in the rain and get it dirty without it looking disgusting. And overall, they put a lot of effort into making this a top tier contender for those everyday comfort cushioned miles. Now, one of the reasons I love this shoe so much, but why it gets slept on, is because of the midsole setup here. So it has a dual layer midsole foam. So the top layer is ZoomX and the bottom is Cushlon. So ZoomX is a PIBA, it's that bouncy race day foam. And then the bottom layer of Cushlon is a standard training foam. I believe it's an EVA. It might be something slightly different, but it's gonna be firmer, it's gonna be more grounded, it's not gonna have as much energy return as a PIBA or a TPEE. So because it uses that dual foam setup, the top layer compresses a ton, and in the forefoot here, it only has a 29mm stack, but it rides like a lot of the lower shoe. And that is the reason I think this is getting slept on. A lot of the mainstream right now hypes up and gravitates these higher stacked super cushion shoes like the Nimbus, like the Triumph. And yes, there is a place for those in my rotation. If you've seen my rotation videos, I've been hyping up that 1080 V13. I think of that as a fantastic marathon training shoe. But it's also important for us to have a shoe like the Vomero, like the Adizero SL, that feels a little bit more connected to the ground, that isn't going to be as bouncy, and that's what this does here. There's no rocker sensation. Yes, it does have a 39mm stack in the heel, but it's not super bouncy, it's not super floaty, it's just a nice comfortable cushion ride for those everyday miles. And so for me, this is a little bit of an upgrade to something like the Rebel V3 or the Adizero SL, which I ran in a lot over the summer and the fall. It still has a little bit of that soft bounce from the Rebel, it still has has a little bit of that fast potential from the Adizero SL, but it's just a little bit more protective than both of those shoes and a little bit more stable. You can see it wraps up here around the back, and that's something that I look for in a daily trainer. I do want a little bit of stability, especially if it's going to be a cushion shoe, and that's an area where the 1080 V13 kind of falls down just a little bit. It's not the most stable even compared to the Gel Nimbus. Now, my all-time favorite in that category of slightly stable cushion shoes is the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. It's on the firmer side, it has that huge rocker, but like this shoe, it wraps up the foam a little bit, and that shoe actually had a plastic heel clip in the back to hold the heel in place. But with this one, you're gonna see this wrapped foam, you're gonna see a little bit of a wider base out here in the back, and it does give it some nice stability, especially with the awesome lockdown we have here on the upper. So that's one of the key elements of the shoe as well. Everything feels super well built. The build quality here is a 10 out of 10. It's almost like an industrial grade upper with the strength that we have from this material. I think it's a standard engineered mesh, but it just feels like a double or triple layered compared to what you get in a more speed oriented training shoe, or even something like the Pegasus. It feels like a wax canvas, honestly like sponsored by Carhartt or Timberland or something. Feels like I could wear these out on the construction site, dig out in the muck and the rocks, and this would be golden protecting my feet. Now we see a similar design philosophy on the outsole here. Again, they've gone with what I've seen runners describe as a bomb-proof outsole, and it really does look like that. This thing is so thick, and I think that's where some of the confusion with the stack height comes in, because if you measure the stack, including this outsole, which some shoes do, that's what will give you that 29 millimeters in the forefoot, but it rides like a little bit lower because I think the rubber is taking up some of that real estate. So if the rubber is 3 millimeters, then maybe you're actually getting 26 millimeters of foam. And then with the ZoomX being maybe half of that, that's only 13 millimeters of this more resilient Cushlon, which is giving it that more ground feel ride. So when I first spotlighted the shoe on the channel, someone commented that it needed a little bit more foam in the forefoot. There's tons of shoes out there that do that. I like that this has a little bit of the firmer ride in the forefoot from the rubber, a little bit more of that connected ground feel ride, and with this super comprehensive outsole, this thing is gonna last for hundreds of miles. Now, one of the key value propositions of the daily trainer category in general is, besides the versatility of these shoes, besides the comfort orientation of these shoes, is that they're supposed to last for a long time. They're supposed to be really durable shoes. If you could only have one shoe, if you could take it to a trip, if you could use it to walk around Disney World, if you could use it to go hiking, it should be your daily trainer. And that's where a lot of the market has got it wrong with daily trainers right now. The Gel Nimbus and the Triumph, yes, I do see people walking around in those. Yes, they are comfort oriented shoes, but particularly in the case of the Gel Nimbus, that is not a durable shoe. That foam gave out for me around 250 miles. And in the case of the Triumph, that's not a very stable, natural feeling shoe for walking around. So for me, a great daily trainer has to feel good, of course, out there on the run, but it also has to do the job of everything else that we do in life with a running shoe after the run. That is what the daily trainer category represents for me, and this thing executes on it perfectly. So if you look at the shoe like the Tracksmith Elliott Runner, which just has a slightly similar ride to the Tracksmith Elliott Runner, is a little bit of a firmer, snappier ride, but that thing is priced at $200. This is gonna give you a lot of what that gives you in a $160 package, but for $160 or $200, you should be getting a shoe that you can use for everything else other than running, because these are not speed-oriented shoes where you're paying for the performance. You wanna be paying for the ride, but also the durability and, of course, the styling. This colorway has also been on sale for $130, which puts it more in line with entry-level daily trainers, and at that price, this is an absolute must-buy. If you are a neutral runner who doesn't need a ton of support, but likes to have a little bit of a more connected feeling to the ground, who likes to have a little bit more of a built-up shoe, very durable shoe, this should be a great shoe for you. If I were coaching a cross-country team, this would be my #1 recommendation for neutral runners out there. No, it's not gonna be the lightest weight option on foot, but again, in a daily trainer, you don't need something super lightweight. You need something that's gonna be protective, and you need something that's gonna be versatile, and that's what this does. And especially if you're going out there hitting some light trails, hitting some greenways, you need a little bit of grip and traction and a little bit more support than something like the Nova Blast will give you, then this would be a great choice. I also think this is a great choice if you want some cushioning in your everyday shoe, but you don't want something that's really marshmallowy like that Gel Nimbus. I really don't like the feeling like I'm fighting against the foam, which I can get in the Gel Nimbus, which I can get in the 1080 when I try to pick up the pace a little bit. That one's a little bit better, and I've been loving it, but this doesn't give me that fighting the foam feeling at all. And with that 10mm drop, it does put me up on my toes. Now, if you're expecting a super pillowy soft ride, this is not going to be the shoe for you. If you only like those max cushion shoes, if you've been running in something like the Gel Nimbus or the Hoka Clifton, I wouldn't recommend going to this if you prefer having a little bit more of that protective feeling. Also, if you like lower drop shoes, this is not going to be the shoe for you. This is sitting at 10mm and it rides like every single bit of that 10mm, where you get a lot of that cushion in the heel for some light heel striking, and then you get put up on your toes for toe off. My last recommendation for this shoe is for beginner runners. This would be a great one shoe to have for someone who's first starting their training program, just needs something they can run everything, they can walk in, they can do errands in, they can even race in if they're doing their first race. This is a true workhorse style shoe that can do it all. With the little zing you get from the top layer of ZoomX, it's a great shoe to pick up the pace occasionally and to run some steady days in, and also of course to run all of those easy miles in. So that is why the Vomero 17 needs more love, it needs more praise, it needs some more purchases from you all out there. I'm doing my part to spread the word. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.